Does this work?
I want to know if it works. It's on.
We walked here. That's why y'all are, I couldn't do a code because I walked.
I was chauffeured. I don't know about y'all, but I'm still.
Oh, we're special. Oh, that's what they should have done.
I didn't speak to Charlotte. After I didn't speak to Charlotte or Blake. Where is this back in here?
It takes me longer to get here to your car because there's something clogged up on the
Ready?
road track.
Ready?
Find the place for car.
He gonna keep me from here just now. Student, he just walked in too. Oh, there he is. Student.
You're aiming high? Okay.
That's debatable. George Wallace.
Yeah, Watergate, I forget about that.
Yeah, I knew it was use office. I mean, those are rogues gallery, not a.
Maybe their paths would have gone a different direction if they'd have been so kind to come to the Eagle Scout. Impressive Eagle Scout and interested in the Appalachian Trail.
When our senior one, that one was
It's a long time.
the senior or the regular one?
Is he back today? What did he say about it? You do what, 15 miles a day, 15 which is
10, 11 miles.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. And I particularly want to welcome Troop Number 21 from Great Atlanta Christian here tonight, working on your merit badges. I salute you. Is it still like this? Yeah. All right. I remember from years ago as a scout myself. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. We have several agenda items that we want to try to go promptly through the agenda. We'll start with the invocation with Council Member Josh Baer, if you would.
Alrighty. Why don't we go ahead and stand? Let's pray. Dear Father, thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for the sunshine outside and all the seeds that are coming up, even the weeds. They serve a purpose of some type and keep things green, hold the soil. Thank you, Lord, for what we have to consider tonight. Just ask for wisdom and that we would have robust collegiate debate on these issues and make good decisions for Norcross. And ask that you would watch over our families, guide us in all of our steps. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Bear. We certainly appreciate you doing that invocation for us. We'll move down to roll call. Let the record show that Councilmember Myers is not here, and everybody else is certainly here. Now we'll move to presentation of the previous minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the April 5th regular council meeting and executive session and the 18th special call meeting, policy work session, and executive session. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. Any objection to moving the question? Having heard none, all in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Let's move to item F, which is to actually set the agenda. So if I can get your eyes to move down to item M for this discussion. And with each of these agenda items, we will allow any council member to pull anything off of the consent agenda for discussion. These items have been discussed at our previous work session, and during the course of that time, access to staff to ask any questions or any concerns that may wanted to have been shared at that particular time. So let's start with item number 1. Discussion or consent.
Consent.
Item number 2, affordable housing developer recommendation. Consent. Item number 3, position reclassification.
Consent.
Consent. Item 4, pedestrian railroad crossing is a discussion. Okay. So to make sure we're clear, the only discussion item we have is item 4 for tonight. So let's move back up to item F to set the agenda. And Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bear to accept the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Beckles. Any objection to moving the question? Having heard none, all in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thanks, we have an agenda. Now, let's move to some of the more pleasant portions of our agenda, and down to item G, ceremonial presentations and recognitions and swearing-in ceremonies. We're going to begin first with a proclamation. And Colin, are you here? Yes, if you would come up to the podium. And this is a proclamation presented to Colin Stoderman in recognition of his service to the Sustainable Commission. And I think I can speak on behalf of all of us and say thank you, because of you've given of your time and your talent away from your family to serve the city of Norcross, and we certainly appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'll read the proclamation. Make sure I have the right one here. Okay, yes, I do. Okay, this is in recognition for and celebration for dedicated service. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, sustainability planning and plans help to manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. Whereas sustainability planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future for their community, and for the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in sustainability planning and plan implementation. Whereas Colin Stoderman has improved the Norcross community by contributing to the Sustainable Norcross Commission as a member and serving as a sustainability education champion by participating in pollinator education and recycling reading activities for school-aged children. It's very important. and greatly contributing to the development of sustainability-themed welcome packet for the new Norcross residents. Whereas Colin Studerman has faithfully and conscientiously served in the city of Norcross and its citizens, during which period of time numerous projects were initiated through his leadership, which will continue to have a growing sustainability impact on the city of Norcross. Whereas Colin Studerman has been a powerful influence for good in the growth and progress of our community. Whereas Colin Studerman, in his performance of duties and responsibilities as a member of this community, has been characterized by excellence and constructive contributions to our community. Whereas, as our community looks back over its many years of being, a few individuals stand out for their caring contribution and their vision, which have made the city of Norcross such a fine place to live. Now, therefore, I, Craig Newton, Mayor of the city of Norcross, commend Colin Studerman for his valuable service, his dedication, and many contributions to the progress and community and to the citizens of Norcross, and extend our personal thanks and those of the city council and all the citizens for his dedicated and faithful service. Colin, thank you so much. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you. I'll try to make this brief. We have a beautiful city in Norcross, and I think it's not just the place, it's the people. When my wife and I first looked around at houses and where we would settle for getting married and starting our family, we always somehow came back to Norcross, whether it was the 4th of July celebration or some sort of event. Norcross was a just beautiful city, really fun, and living here and just starting my family has been a really fun place to do this, and I've met a ton of people. I realized that there's a lot more people that put their heart into the city behind the scenes too, and that the staff also put in a lot of hard work for us. So really thankful. Matt recommended me for the board. I think we left it in a great place with Bob and everybody that's filling in on my spot and so on. But thank you, and if I don't really know you, I hope to get to know you some more. And just thank you, everybody, for what you do for our city. Thank you.
We have a couple more recognitions at this time. I'm going to ask Blake Madden if you would come to the podium. And this is an appreciation for longevity, for your hard work, for your dedication, for your giving, for your, I guess, someone who loves the city and has spent 23 years, if I'm guessing without looking at this, in service of the city. And we certainly appreciate everything you've done. So without further ado, I'll read the proclamation, and we have a few other things that we want to execute. So, and it reads thusly. This is in recognition and celebration of dedicated service. Whereas the Norcross Tree Preservation Board is dedicated to develop, interpret, and assist enforcing the provisions of the city tree ordinance, and to advise the mayor and council on matters pertaining to the preservation of trees and the conservation of a tree canopy cover within the city. In addition, the Tree Preservation Board promotes tree conservation through many avenues, and activities such as public education, tree plantings, Arbor Day celebration, stewardship of public forested areas, and city landscape trees. And whereas Blake Manton has been a member of the Norcross Tree Preservation Board since its inception in 2003, that's a long time, and has served with distinction for these past 19 years. As a valued and knowledgeable member, he has contributed greatly to the city's policies and ordinance development regarding our trees and tree canopy throughout the city. Whereas Blake Manton has heavily influenced the recognition of the value of trees and their role in our ambiance, our beauty, our climate, and the good ecological contributions to our city. And whereas Blake Manton has contributed at his own expense numerous trees and their plantings for Norcross's Arbor Day celebrations and tree memorials, his many donated trees can be found all over the city. Whereas Blake Manton is one of the individuals that really stands out in his contributions to the city of Norcross, his care, his vision, his generosity, and his willingness to share his expertise in the management of plants and trees have made the city of Norcross a distinctive place to live. Now, therefore, I, Craig Newton, Mayor of the City of Norcross, commend Blake Manton for his valuable service, his dedication, his many contributions to the Norcross Tree Preservation Board, and to the community, and extend our personal thanks and those of the City Council, present and past members of the Tree Preservation Board, and the entire community for his dedication and his faithful service. Blake, thank you so much. Let's give Blake a hand.
Thank you.
And if we can get our photographer up to take a picture? Yes.
So when Johnny asked me, I think it was, it was around 2000, 2003. He basically said, Blake, you have to come do this. And I said, okay, because Johnny had been here for so long, and I said, I'll be more than happy to do so. But I've enjoyed the whole time we've done this, and you know, it makes a guy feel a little old when they say he's retiring, and I still got a long ways to go in terms of work. But you know, I think it was time for some new blood on the board, you know, and they continue to do a great job. You know, trees and plant material, people always ask me, or I always tell people, you know, trees grow, you know, and plant material grows. I'm just still trying to figure out, or it's just like us as humans, it needs food, water, and everything else. Unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure out how to catch up with them growing tall versus out, and I'm kind of losing that battle. But thank you, everybody, for being here. I certainly appreciate it. So, okay, thank you. Okay.
Charlotte had arranged for all of the past and present tree preservation board members to get photographs with you. So,
Yeah,
like if you
okay,
stand
sure.
in the middle, Charlotte, and all the past and present tree board members will come up and take a quick shot.
Charlie, when's the last time you were in this room? Welcome back, Charlie. Could we stand up or?
Yes, council. thank you all for being here, and thank you all for your service on the tree board. Appreciate that. And Charlotte, thank you so much for pulling all this together for us. We certainly appreciate it. Okay, as the tree board are dismissing for further celebrations at the crossing, we'll begin our next presentation. And this is a presentation honoring our annual professional Municipal Clerks Week, which is happening May 1st through May 7th. And Monique asked me not to make her stand up, so I won't. But this is a proclamation and appreciation for both Monique and Shayla and their hard work for the city. And they do an excellent job for us, as our city manager can certainly attest. And it's not an easy job, because they're kind of caught in the middle in a lot of different areas, but they manage it well, and they manage their time well. And it reads thusly: whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. Whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of government and other levels. Whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the informational center on all functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through their participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk. Now, therefore, I, Craig Newton, Mayor of the City of Norcross, do recognize the week of May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Monique Lang, and Deputy Clerk, Shayla Alexis, and to all the professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this second day of May, 2022. So you have to stand up now.
Stand up.
And we will present you with the certificate. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Where's Shayla?
Upstairs.
All right. Okay, let's move on down the agenda. We'll move down to item H, which we will open the floor to citizens desiring to address the governing body. If you would like to come and speak, please come to the podium, give your name and address.
Faye McFarland, 692 Camelot Way. I'm back again this month asking please make some corrections to the code enforcement. It hasn't gotten any better, and I know a couple of you have already seen a situation that I was talking about before, and it's really bad. So we would appreciate very much if you all would make some changes and help us out in this area. And recently, I had to replace my roof. My neighbor had to replace his, and we did not know each one was doing it. And it happened to be the very same morning. And it was a zoo around our place. My company got the permit that is required from the city. I did not tell them, but they got it, and I checked and they had it. His company had on his proposal they were paying for the permit, but they did not get a permit. And with the permit, there is an inspection. I wanted to know what kind of inspection it was. It would not have happened if I had not requested that permit, made a purpose and a time that I would be at home just to see what took place. It's a shocker. Some inspection when the guy gets out of his vehicle, stands a long ways away from the roof, hand over his eye, yeah, this, take him to the back, he does the same thing. He wasn't there 10 minutes, and I don't know what the city is paying for. If they pay for it on a regular basis and not take place and have it done, most people don't even know that it does state that there will be an inspection. Most people think that, I thought this inspection was going to be during the process, not way after. But anyway, I don't know if most of you even know that roof permit is a joke. And it's not taking place in a lot of times either. And also, I want to really give praise publicly. Recently, there was a situation that I really had a hard time on a Saturday, and I called the police 3 times. It was not corrected, but at 11:30, I just said, I know this is it. Because I knew that you all had made some changes to the noise ordinance last year, or not long ago anyway. So they did stop it right then. And talking with Captain Morphus after this, he found out exactly what happened, and a lot of new officers, and they just were not really trained. And he said he has really made some corrections to that, and I do believe it will take place. But I was not going to put up with this, because I've been here 50 years, and I knew we were not going to start it now. And it'd probably be my only time to make a public thank you to Mary Beth. I had the privilege of serving on the council the first day she came to work at the city of Norcross. I've worked with her in many areas, every department, everything during the years. I've seen her such hard work, and we just appreciate her so much, and we're going to miss her. And I just wanted to make that public thank you to Mary Beth.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Appreciate those comments.
Michael McGinnis, 836 Northampton Drive, Sheffield Forest. I'm just going to make a comment tonight. I'm not going to call any names or anything. My grandfather taught me when I was growing up that you tell a man to do something, you do it. Well, y'all got a few up here that'll tell a man he'll do something, then don't do it. Not going to call no names tonight, but I think I know who they are. And I just wanted to make it public. That's a poor test of character right there when you do that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We certainly appreciate it. And I did have the opportunity since the last meeting and actually today to ride through the Sheffield Forest neighborhood. Yes, there are issues that should and will be addressed. But looking at the overall process through the years, I've seen some really good improvements in that neighborhood, some really good noticeable improvements. But as we all know, good is the enemy of great, we have opportunities to do better, not only in that neighborhood, but throughout the entire city. And we certainly will make efforts to do so. Moving down to item B, comments for the council. Council, do you have any comments at this time?
I do.
Yes. Councilmember Beckles?
First, I want to say thank you to Mary Beth for Georgia City's Day. It was a great event. I had fun. I also want to bring to Mayor and Council greetings from the Impact Board, and to let you know that we're looking at the Heritage Park steps to do some artwork. So you'll be hearing from them a little bit more about that. Also, we're in the process of finalizing our RFP for the city's first Master Arts and Cultural Plan, so that'll be going out shortly. And an update from Gwinnett Transit. We are looking at doing a new transit development plan. We have engaged the services of a woman-owned small business to do the plan for us. And we're going to be doing several community outreaches, looking to engage Vietnamese, Koreans. You know, we have a diverse population and we want to get them at the table to give their input. So that's my update for council.
Thank you, Councilmember Beckles. Any other updates? Councilmember Bear?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment about the recognition for the city clerk. It's a real pleasure working with Monique and Shayla, and you guys are, I can't tell you how grateful I am, because I know that you guys are gonna always make sure that things get done the right way and get taken care of. And knowing what I know now, I wouldn't begin to serve as a council member in a city unless there was any kind of folks like you guys to serve as city clerk. And then I just wanted to say that Mary Beth soldiered through the rain, and she made the Easter egg hunt the best egg hunt ever, and it was well received, at least by my crew, and from the pictures that I saw, it looked like the subsequent hunt went really well too. So that's really awesome, and thank you.
Great comments. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to, well, one, Mary Beth, I hope you come back next year, which will be Sarah's first opportunity. Everyone's waited for a long time for Sarah to be able to go there, and I'm sorry we couldn't make it this time. So thanks for all you do. I would like to commend Norcross Police. Quick story, I was on my way back from Greenville, South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and I start getting texts from all the moms in the neighborhood. What's going on with the police activity? What's going on with the police activity? And all their husbands were out of town, and there's just police cars everywhere. And rumors start to spread, there's a manhunt, and I have no clue what's going on. I'm in my car, and I call city manager. I don't know what's going on. All these constituents are reaching out to me. My wife is home alone with our 2-year-old, and she had called me before this happened and said something odd happened, that a gentleman was walking up our driveway. We have a very, not secluded driveway, but he was walking up our driveway while she was walking, thankfully, with our dog. And this turned out to be the assailant. Not entirely sure what happened. There was a gun involved, and he may have been armed at the time that he was 2 or 3 feet away from my wife. By the time I got home, there were police cars everywhere, and I see this gentleman come walking, just kind of hopping over Barton. It was clear something was not right. I didn't know we had that many police officers. They were all there, and it was amazing, the quick response. They were able to apprehend this gentleman safely. Officer Batinsky came through my parents' backyard, and they apprehended him in my backyard, and they arrested him and put him in the car next to my mailbox. So it was a very intense situation. I think officers communicated as best they could, given the information they had, and afterwards, Sergeant Braun, I forget his name. I know him very well, so I apologize. Stayed after, pardon me? Lieutenant. Oh boy, I'm which is worse, the name or the rank? I forgot. We'll go with Lieutenant Braun. He stayed at our house and talked to some scared parents. Informed us what was going on. Was very. He took extra time to calm us down, and give us the information. And a few kids were there, and he walked through that process. And then I went and talked to all these moms and talked to their husbands about what was going on. And just generally, it was a good experience, although a little too close to home, to see how well protected our community is, and to see how large how quickly we can muster resources when needed. COVID put a little damper on it, but I used to travel a lot for work, and I would always say that traveling for work is pretty good when you know that we have a capable and excellent and certified police force that is there to take care of your family. And it makes the traveling a little bit easier, and I sleep well at night knowing they're there. So, Eric, kudos to the team, kudos to Bill. Make sure that gets passed along to all our officers. We are so incredibly thankful, and my entire neighborhood is thankful. And I know there's many communities that have experienced unfortunate circumstances where our police have been top notch.
Thank you so much for those comments. You're good?
We've taken up enough time.
Well, thank you, Council, for those comments. I only have one. I wanted to say that we had a very informative convention at ECG this week. Economic Development Director William Corbin and Christabel were there at the session. We learned an awful lot. Every time I go to these sessions, I learn something new. There's an opportunity to network and share our experiences here at the city, but also to learn and share from other municipalities too. So that was a great session. I brought some things back to share with the DDA and with council, and we'll share those later. And that's all I have. Let's move on to the approved agenda. I'm sorry, City Manager. I'm going too fast here. City Manager comments. Let me, Eric Johnson, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So a few things, but I'll try to talk fast. First of all, I want to add my congratulations to Monique and Sheila. I've been in this business a very long time. I have a mother-in-law who was a city clerk, and I know a good city clerk. So really appreciate what you've done. I'll point out that I think for the first time since I joined a year and a half ago, we have a fully staffed police department that includes our communications area. I think that's important. That kind of gets to what you heard from Mike and Faye. We've been using code enforcement officers to cover communications in recent months because of the fact that communications is something that is a have to, and we fortunately had some former communications employees who were working in code. But get your issue, Mike and Faye, I've driven through your subdivision recently. And I know there's more that can be done, but I can also see evidence of some people that are making significant investments in their property, and that's to be noted as well. The one thing I'll just encourage is we have a request tracker software system that if you put your issue in, it gets to code enforcement immediately. You're certainly welcome to let me know, and I will put those in. But the significance of a citizen anywhere in the community putting in their issue is they get the email responses, the status updates. If I put them in, I get them. But message received, like that. I had the opportunity to go to Georgia Municipal Association Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion training, and I will give kudos to Dr. Beckles because they started that off with a video that you had recorded for them. So you couldn't make their meeting, but your presence was seen and heard.
Thank you.
Good.
And it was excellent. That was done by Freddie Broom, who did training for us last year for a number of committees. But outstanding training, and we might look for opportunities to take further
Yes.
advantage of that.
I take full responsibility for supporting the city and becoming certified. I will.
I try to share with you things as they come up. I've told you the audit is completed. We have a management discussion analysis still to write, and then it'll be final and published. Want to introduce Charlene Marsh, who just joined us as assistant to the city manager. Ms. Arlene participated already on Friday with our great event. We had literally hundreds of students help to understand what municipal government does. And then on that note, I want to welcome the scouts that are here tonight. I'm an Eagle Scout. I will tell you that you're going to learn things in Boy Scouts that you will use for the rest of your lives. You don't really know what you'll use until you use it. I read a book about 20 years ago called Walking Woods that became Eagle Scout to me, and I started buying equipment and started hiking the Appalachian Trail, and that's actually why I live here. After 20 years of that, I told my wife I'd like to live a little bit closer. I had a long time ago, and as I told a couple of you, when you become an Eagle Scout, at the end of that path that you're on, you get to invite people to a court of honor and give you a sense of just how old I am. I invited the President of the United States, his name was Richard Nixon, and if you've never heard of him, that's probably a good thing. And the Vice President, Spiro T. Agnew, who left office sooner than Richard Nixon. But, you're working in citizenship, the Community Merit Badge, and so appreciate you being here tonight, spending some time with us, and maybe learning a little bit more about what local government does, and maybe some of you want to listen. With that, I'm done, sir.
Thanks so much. I appreciate those comments. Let's move down to item J. Do we have any reports to share at this time from council? If not, I'm not going to go through and read all the announcements under general announcements unless there's one in particular that we, the council, you think we would need to add specific emphasis on. I know that this Saturday, May 7th, is Viva Mexico. It's a first-time event that we're going to have in the city, recognizing our diversity and recognizing Mexico. And again, this is first time that we're having this event. May 14th, Saturday, May 14th is Coffee with Council. That's going to be at 45 South. Pedal Norcross. Andrew, I don't know if you had anything to add relative to that.
I think you ride more often than me now, Mayor. Maybe.
I plan to be at this one also, so that should be fun. And then Monday, May 30th, is Memorial Day Remembrance. That will be held in Thrasher Park. Upcoming concerts, make sure you take note of those. So all those announcements are there for you to read. Let's move down to item K, which is board appointments. And it looks like we only have one vacancy for the Tree Preservation Board. Who's carrying that one?
Are we appointing Blake Mann?
I'm sure he'd love that.
I can make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Go right ahead, Councilmember Bear.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Michelle Osborne to the Tree Preservation Board with a term expiration of June 1st, 2026.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Bear. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Beckles. Any objection to moving the question? Having heard none, all in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, let's move down to item L. The approval of the consent agenda. We only have one discussion item, item 4. And do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as mentioned. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second to approve the agenda. Any objection to moving the question? Having heard none, all in favor, let it be known by raise your right hand saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, let's move into the discussion item. City Manager Eric Johnson, this one is yours.
So this item relates to pedestrian crossings of the railroad tracks at Jones Street, Holcomb Bridge Road, Autry Street, and Stevens or Rowan Street. And basically, since your last meeting, we've gone back and looked at prior actions. In the spring of 2020, you authorized staff to enter into an agreement for preliminary engineering services with the railroad, Norfolk Southern. And at that time, they'd given us a preliminary engineering cost estimate of $39,410. That covers their cost of overseeing anything related to the 4 pedestrian crossings. The next action on that was in October of 2020, that same year, when you had a discussion over staff's estimate of what all of the costs, other than the railroad's costs, would be to complete those. And at the time, the estimated cost was $400,000. So again, that excluded the $39,000. It was roughly $100,000 per crossing, but the cost of each crossing varied a little bit. One was 95, one was 105, and the other 2 were 100. And at that time, the action that you took, and you finally took the action a month later on November 2nd of 2020, was to authorize staff to do the survey work for those 4 crossings. At the time, they were estimated to be about $12,000 or $3,000 per crossing, with a contingency of another 20%. And that's what's been done, and that's the last action that's been taken in relationship to those crossings. The funding source for the surveys came from SPLOST, and for the public, that's our local sales tax that Gwinnett County voters approved back in 2016, that took effect in 2017. So at this point, we don't know exactly what it'll cost. I've asked our city engineer to come up with updated costs for the remaining costs. Survey's done, but we have the design and construction to go. I think we probably need to go back to the railroad and find out their updated costs for their oversight. Basically, you have to have people on site, and we pay their travel expenses and their hourly rate for them to make sure that anything we're doing in their right-of-way is appropriate. My suggestion is, Paul, who I introduced, I think at an earlier meeting, our new finance director is looking at SPLOST funds to see what is available, and sorting through our 2009 SPLOST, our 2014 SPLOST, our 2017 SPLOST, which is the current one. But what I would suggest is that, as you've talked previously, time is of the essence. We have someone at the railroad that appears to be cooperative. And I know that at an earlier meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Myers talked about, can we do them simultaneously, do quiet zone design as well as these crossings. My concern would simply be that we know from Duluth's experience and having talked to Smyrna that railroad quiet zones, which is a pretty hefty price tag, is a 3 to 4 year process. There are only 3 that Norfolk Southern has done in the state of Georgia. Most of the quiet zones in Georgia have been done in cooperation with CSX. They have 12 quiet zones. I think it's best that we move ahead if this is your priority, and what I would suggest is that we use SPLOST as our funding source. It might mean that if we don't have enough SPLOST in the transportation category by the time that the revenue is done being collected about a year from now, that it may be that a little bit of your Beaver Ruin Greenway project, which is the largest transportation project we have, $11 million project, $2.2 million of that has to come from the city, that we may need a portion of that Greenway to be funded out of the next SPLOST. But construction on the Greenway is not projected until 2024. And my suggestion is, if you're agreeable, that we move ahead, depending on the availability of transportation funding, and try to work with the railroad to do the 4 crossings as soon as possible.
Thank you for that presentation. Will council, any questions at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question.
Councilman Beckles?
You mentioned 4 crossings.
Yes, ma'am.
I count 5.
We did not talk about doing one up at Langford, so
Yeah,
it
I brought that
was,
up last time.
Yeah.
and I mean, we can go look at that if you'd like to look at that. That was not part of what had been looked at previously, but if that's the interest of the council.
I think that was in the interest of, if we were to do quiet zones. So I'm not sure that the need for, there's already pretty decent pedestrian access there, so.
Okay.
That's a great question, though. I have a question, Mr. Mayor. You had mentioned depending on availability of transportation funds, this is a pretty important project to us. Could we not just use fund balanced? Could we not just authorize you to use fund balance for the remaining, any overages?
You could if you want to. What I would suggest is, at an earlier meeting, I said, use your most restricted money first, and so I would suggest using SPOST. We will have SPOST. I mean, we have money for, keep looking at Paul, make sure he keeps me straight on this.
But you said the availability, which makes me think that maybe there's
well-
a shortage.
Well, because we had planned to do the Greenway, when the Greenway cost half as much as we discovered back in December it actually is gonna cost. I think the Greenway was about a $5 to $6 million project. It's now an $11 million project. So our 20% commitment to the Beaver Run Greenway, and that's a matter of conceptual plans to where we are now with more realistic information on what that costs in terms of the right-of-way and the design and the construction. My suggestion is you certainly can use general fund, the cash that we carry over from year to year.
Would it be
But
better
that
to
will
use
be available
contingency?
2 years from now if you decided then that you needed to use that to fill in the bucket.
How can we authorize to move this forward tonight?
Well, I'm looking for any sign of concern about doing that. If not, then what we'll do is we'll get updated information on what we believe the cost will be to us. We have to follow up with the railroad and find out whether they've updated their costs from that $39,000 2 years ago. And then we'll bring back an item for your official approval. But what I would like to do now is to progress with the assumption that we're going to get a yes. But to your point, we can use the cash that we have in general revenue, but I would suggest we use our SPOS money first. And if we need to fill in, the bucket for the Greenway in 2024 when we get to construction, you always have that option at that point.
Okay, and could we use contingency if contingency is usually more restrictive than
Well,
fund
you
balance?
might end up, we might come back with contingency if we need, but I think
Okay.
even, everything we have now should be eligible for SPOS, so as long as we don't have a cash flow problem, we could do it, but, any questions? Oh, okay.
Council, any other?
Yeah, I just have one more. And it may be a little premature, but I wanted to make sure that when we're doing the estimate, we're considering both sides of each of the 4 roads.
Okay,
Because there was some discussion about one side or the other, and I think we should look at both sides of all 4
Okay.
roads, at least until we decide that that's not affordable.
we can do that, and I don't know if that was the plan. If it wasn't, then we may have just doubled the cost, but we'll bring that back and.
I think the
and-
original plan we always discussed, Josh, you have to correct me, was always 2
I
sides.
think it was, I just wanted to make sure.
Where a second side was needed, or
Mhm.
2 sides.
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking is that the 2 closest to downtown make the most sense. I don't know whether you think that you need a crossing on either side of the road when you get to Autry or Stevens.
Actually, and.
Yes?
No,
Oh.
I agree with your thought.
I mean, I think at that point, we have so little vehicular traffic that having one crossing might be sufficient. But I understand when you look at people coming to downtown, whether they're on Jones or they're on Holcomb Bridge, that you don't want people having to try to cross to get across the railroad tracks and then cross back, so.
I think there should be crossings on every side of every street in Norcross, and eventually we just have to put a stake in the ground and say we're gonna do this. I would like to revisit something I said, which was was factually not correct. Langford, Monique, can you pull up Google Maps, or can I shoot this up here? Langford has no crosswalk over the railroad tracks at all in our city. You can actually see the goat. You can see the goat paths where they go. Monique, this is what I'm showing. So that's Langford. Yeah. I think it should be included in the scope. It obviously is a very well-used path there, and it might be the most expensive one we do, but it looks like, yeah, it looks like it ends right at the railroad right-of-way both of our sidewalks. Yeah. You could just, it's always hard to do things under pressure.
I wish it didn't appear like
We should have the ability to like throw mine up there. Is Dr. Trent here?
but we can pass that along.
Yeah, so let's go, yeah, you're right here. If you can zoom in on here, Ronnie, can you see me? So here's, you can kind of see where the sidewalk ends here. The sidewalk ends here, so this would be the railroad right-of-way. I'd like to see, if no one else would object, if we're doing sidewalks, this looks like it is pretty well used and it should be included.
We can do that. So double on Langford, double on,
Only only one side of Langford's in our city. The other side is in Peachtree Corners, so.
okay.
You could call your counterpart,
Well, yeah.
call your
They're
counterpart.
looking for ways to spend money. They built the bridge, so maybe they'd like to put,
So let's see if we can work with them.
I'll ask them if they're interested in.
If you look at that map, there is an appendage that sticks out from Langford Road that,
Can you come up here and tell me what you're showing?
right here. I don't know if you make this bigger, but this here is a.
Yeah,
area.
but it's not
The
paved.
sidewalk doesn't connect.
Yeah, but you can see that's the goat tracks I was talking
This sidewalk
about.
needs to connect, is what you're really saying. Actually, the crossing might be there, but there's no sidewalk connection to
Yeah.
either side of it.
So if we could just get permission to
So that
maybe,
might not even be that.
that might not be that bad at all.
Okay.
I mean, you can obviously see the goat path there. I just think that should be included.
Sure.
Well, on the other side, it doesn't look like there's any sidewalk,
No,
so
there's a sidewalk on both sides.
is there?
Sidewalk ends here.
No, he means.
No, I'm talking about
Here,
on
this
Peachtree
side,
Corners
there's
side.
no- there's nothing
They could build a
there.
bridge.
That's a
Okay,
different
Yeah.
city side, probably.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry. Okay, message received. So we'll do 5, not 4. We'll get updated information from the railroad. We'll look at updated information from our side.
What's
your And-
anticipation time to get that back to us?
Depends on the railroad, but we've tracked down the person to talk to at the railroad, so.
I would assume
I will send you all an email to keep you up to date so that you're not waiting till the meeting 2 weeks from now to hear where we are.
I don't think there's an urgency to this because I don't think there's much that'll happen during the summer season, but I'd love for it to be teed up so we can start during winter when there's a lot less traffic, at least pedestrian traffic
Okay.
and less interruption. So I don't even know if that's reasonable, but that's what I would strive for.
So one side of the road on Autry and Stevens, both sides for Holcomb Bridge, both sides for Jones, and the one side that is ours for Langford, and we'll let the city of Peachtree Corners know if they have interest in coordinating with us.
Yeah, shoot us an email with that because I want to clarify. I think it should be on both sides, on Stevens, both sides on,
Okay.
but
well,
let's send us an email and we'll clarify it because
we'll-
that,
We'll look at the price tag for both
Yeah.
and bring that back.
Okay, but before you sit down, I do want to express, I guess, my concern that we're dedicating all of the SPOS money to this particular project in lieu of the Greenway project. I think the Greenway project is pivotal for the city of Norcross. The potential for economic development or redevelopment is huge. We've seen what happens once these greenways, these paths are created. If you look at the Beltline, you see the industrial and the residential and the business changes that have happened as a result of that greenway. I'm concerned that we're kind of putting this on the shelf. I don't want this to be another East Norcross project that we're kicking the can down the road in lieu of another project. So I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
thought we funded that already.
I think they're very, both projects are important, but the Greenway
No, I
Trail is
understand your
really
point,
important.
and I'm not suggesting that we wouldn't. I guess our challenge would be if the 2023 SPLOST isn't approved by voters in November. Because at this point, I think the last time we looked, there would not be enough money left in this current SPLOST allocated transportation to complete the Greenway with the new price. So what I'm saying is that if we're going to go ahead and try to do this using SPLOST, to Councilmember Hickson's point, you could always use general revenue later to make up for it. I'm suggesting you use SPLOST first. We have 2009 SPLOST that hasn't been spent. We've got 2014 SPLOST that hasn't been spent. There's a limit to how long we should have some of these restricted revenues the voters approve sitting out there unspent on projects. So I'm simply saying, but I want to be on the record of making sure that you know, right now, we probably need some of the 2023 SPLOST allocated to transportation to complete our commitment to the Beaver Ruin Greenway, because our commitment there is over $2.2 million, I think.
Didn't we recently fund $800,000 towards the planning and our additional costs?
We don't have enough money towards construction, which doesn't come for 2 more years.
Okay, but we funded planning.
We're moving that project at the fastest possible pace. The challenge with that project is because there are federal funds involved, the timeline and the cost is greater. It
Understood.
takes longer to go through a federally funded project. It costs more because of the unique requirements of a federally funded project. So we're on schedule, and you've done everything you need to do to keep us on schedule. I'm simply saying that the transportation dollars won't be spent until 2024. We probably need some additional money from that next SPLOST to fill in that bucket. But if you want to move now, I'd say use some of the SPLOST money that we already have available, with the recognition that we may need to replace it later with non-SPLOST money. We're trying to balance, but Mayor, to your point, no. I mean, there's no way that we should give up on that. You know, we did the Safe Route to Schools project, and that cost more than was anticipated, but that ties into the Greenway to provide that path in East Norcross. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me make that clarification. We need to do that Greenway in its entirety, and it's a matter of timing.
Any other comments, council? Okay, that was our last agenda item for tonight, unless we need to go into exec for any discussion. Looks like a big no.
We don't have anything real estate wise.
Can you update us individually?
I like that. Thank you. Okay, it looks like we don't have an executive item to discuss for tonight. Then Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any objection? All in favor? Let me know, raise your right hand. Say no. Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate your diligence. Thank you.
I just wanted the scouts, it was easy. I just wanted to make a big point about the crossing for the scouts.
Yes.
Just for the scouts. Hey, troop, does anyone in the troop have any questions that we can answer, or you like pictures?
Pictures, anything?
We have, we're trying to figure out what we would like to have a little conversation about a little further.
Sure. Yeah.
Cody, you remember those days. You remember those days.
See those stories about
Poor Monique still got to drive home.
powered scooters and so on.
We gotta get like a fat man tunnel.
Did you check out the stone wall and columns?
No, I should check it out.
You'll be happy.
Really? What ended up working?
You're right, yes.
Really?
We hired somebody.
Got you out of here before 7:30?
Yeah. She owes me. I'm not gonna. I got it back for you now. My child dropped me. And she probably not gonna come back for me. Let me see.
Some
Really?
sort of medium that lasts. I mean, anything
Where's my
that
dad?
lasts is gonna be abrasive. Even just mist. They
I brought my own. I figured y'all put something to make me speak.
find the uric acid.
Y'all may put me to sleep because I talk too much. No, this is
Cost that much.
some electrolytes, something. Yeah, you want to try one? It didn't got any no sugar nor
Just
nothing.
last week.
Yeah, electrolytes. It come today on Amazon. I'll bring some for you.
Well, so anyway, it's done, flowers and drip lines are going in. I'm spraying just in case I need to ask